Okay, let's talk about innovation and digitalization. Actually, in the past few years, we have seen changes in innovation and digitalization. But again, but again, during the pandemic, it has increased. For example, who among you who are here have used Zoom prior to the pandemic? Have you used Zoom prior to the pandemic? Jelly, have you used it? Rika,
No,
have you used? Oh, not yet. Okay.
no, sir.
Justin, have you heard of the word Zoom prior to the pandemic?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Let's go to the younger ones. Sir Gerald, have you used Zoom before?
I heard Zooms are in the in the money changer and the what is the like like a Cebuana pawn shop like that because they have a uh for the the sending money from
It's
the
a
abroad
different
from
Zoom.
abroad.
Eh. That's a different
but
Zoom.
but I doesn't use Zoom prior to
Okay.
the
Okay.
pandemic.
How about Sir Leo? Have you used Zoom prior to the pandemic, Sir Leo?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yeah. Who among you have worked at home prior to the pandemic? Doing office work at home prior to the pandemic. That's another way, right? It's another way. Who among you have used online bank transaction prior to the pandemic? I even don't have a bank account. No, it's a joke. But you see, things have changed, isn't it? Things have changed. Prior to the pandemic, there was so much innovation, there was so much digitalization, but not as much when the pandemic is here. Now, let's discuss this one. How does innovation and digitalization has contributed to the change in various sector, and in this we will be discussing how did it affected sorry. Sorry. Oh, there. Digital technologies on the rise. Okay. 69% of people who use video conferencing for the first time during COVID-19 expect to continue. Well, many companies started to use video conferencing even decades ago. They were using Skype, they were using other platforms. But as we all know and as we are discussing, many are using video conferencing during the pandemic. In fact, if you notice your class, we are here using a video conferencing. Now, what if the pandemic is over? Do you think video conferencing will also stop simply because the pandemic is over, the quarantine might be lifted? What do you think? The answer of the survey says 69% of the people says they will still continue to use video conferencing. Take note of that even though, for example, the pandemic is over soon, many companies, including tourism companies, will still use video conferencing. So it changed the way things are done during the pandemic, it will continue. That is why they called it what? The new normal. Because what we are doing right now, it could be some adjustment and changes because of the pandemic, but this will become what? Normal in the future. So that's why they have this term new normal. Okay. Next, we've talked about online banking earlier. 66% of consumers are using less cash and moving toward more contactless solutions. Question, because most of you or all of you are in the Philippines. Did you use GCash prior to the pandemic? Sir Leo, did you use it?
Yes, sir. Before.
Okay, before. How many transactions do you have in 1 week?
Ah, not really,
Probably one or once a month?
yeah,
Huh?
one or twice a week, maybe.
Okay. How about Gerald?
No, sir, I'm not using GCash during the
Okay.
after the pandemic.
Jelly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm using GCash before or prior the pandemic.
How many transactions per week? How many transactions per month?
Like per week is uh once a week.
Once a week. Okay. How about you, Rika? Do you have a GCash account prior to the pandemic?
Yes, sir.
Transactions?
Maybe twice a month.
Twice a month. Oh. How about Justin? Justin,
Yes, sir.
so you used it before.
Yes.
Okay. And what can you say about your number of transactions?
It depends, sir, in 1 month.
Okay. Overson, have you used online banking prior to the pandemic? Sir, you're muted. Please unmute.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me,
Yes.
sir?
Okay.
Hi. Yes, sir. I didn't use GCash, but I used Paymaya. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. In the Philippines, we call that YMNN, right? Okay. So pay Maya before the no. But now take note, whether you use it before or not, or you started to use it last year, imagine the number of transactions or how often do you receive money through GCash, Paymaya, and other money transferring platforms. Imagine or try to compare the number of online banking transactions that you do or you did during the pandemic. Isn't it that it's true? Now, according to the data, 66% of consumers are using less cash and moving towards more contactless solution. Now that you have enjoyed transacting using Paymaya, GCash, or online, will you still go to BPI and wait for 1 or 2 hours before you will? You see, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not now for us. It's like something new, but it will become a normal thing for us. We will not stop until the pandemic is over. It appears that we will continue to do that. And how many of us here in the Zoom only right now talking about it? Would you like to ask, your immediate family members? Would you like to ask your friends or whoever? Would you like to send an email inquiry or a survey to say 1,000 people? Everyone or majority of them will be answering that they will continue to use contactless information, right? That means it changed the way travelers will handle transactions. It will change how travelers will handle it. Now, next point, 45% of travel passengers are ready to shed their paper passport, sorry for that typo error, for digital identities. What does that mean? Many people right now are willing to go to travel and use digital identifications. And again, that's the way to go. That's the way to go right now. IDs, even credentials, blockchain credentials, and so on and so forth, and digital forms of identification cards. Why? Less queuing, less contact, less exposure, social distancing. And last point, 44% of travelers increase their time spent browsing social media during pandemic. Now, let's be honest with this. Increasing time in social media doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. What if your work is your work requires you to be online in your social media because you have to do social media marketing and so on and so forth, right? Now, my question will just be very simple. Do you agree that during the pandemic, your personal experience, you have increased browsing social media during the pandemic? Justin, yes or no?
No.
Ano? Okay. Cool, ah? I'll call your mother. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. Rika, did you increase your time in social media during the pandemic?
Yes.
Okay. Jelly,
Yes, sir.
Gerald,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
is it true also with you, Hoverson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Things have changed. Many work are related to social media. When we market everything, even in LIBT, we have increased our presence in social media. And knowing that people increase their browsing time means that if you have a business, put it in social media because the people are there. The chances of them seeing your business. So if you will start your own tour operator business in Batangas, Sir Leo, make sure that they have a very good visibility in social media. Why? People browse in the social media. Make sure you have your own, YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. Now, that's just one side on the rise. Requiring changes. Sorry. There. Requiring changes in the sector. The workforce must adapt. This is again the result of the survey. 89% of travel and tourism companies say that the skills gap in local labor markets is a barrier to adoption of new technologies. Now, in the previous slide, we mentioned that there will be a lot of adjustment. You see, there will be a lot of adjustment. And because of these adjustments, because they are not stopping, no? Digitalization won't stop. And other health and safety will not stop. What does that mean? It means that if we are in tourism and hospitality, we need to adjust. We need to adjust. We need to adapt what is the new way of doing things. We have to adjust. Now, remote work will be normalized. Oh, we like this, right? 33% of travelers expect to work from home at least 1 to 5 days per week after COVID-19. So 33% work from home. Isn't it a good information also? And also, lastly, communities cannot be left behind. What does that mean? 15% of the developed countries 15% of households in least developed countries can access internet at home versus 84% in developed countries. So the rural areas has to have internet access. Imagine the huge difference. In developed countries, 84% has access. In least developed countries, they only have 15%. In the Philippines, we're just so happy that in many of the areas, we have access to the internet. Sometimes it's just the speed that we complain, but we're adjusting anyway. We're adjusting. Why is it that rural areas has to have internet? So that their people can work also. So that they could access the new normal. They could interact with people. They could talk. No need to travel to go to the city. You can in fact work for a company that is based in the city while what? You live in the rural area. But what should be one thing that is very important and should be stable? Internet. The reason why we can do our class remotely and we are in different locations right now, because of what? Because of internet. Without internet, this will be really, really challenging and difficult to us.